Welcome to My Toy Life. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I hope that you will enjoy the show this evening. And if you can hear us all right, please comment and let us know that you're able to hear us. If you can't hear us, please send me a message quick so that I can fix it. I want to welcome our guest hosts again, Brother Rick.
Hi, Terry.
How was your New Year, Rick?
Um,
You went to bed early, right?
my crazy neighbor kind of messed up my New Year's a little bit. Nothing bad, but he kind of messed with me a little bit and ruined my weekend.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Nothing bad, but just disrupted my weekend, I should say. But it was okay. New Year's is great. The year's starting off good.
Can
So
you believe we're already in, what is it, the 11th day or 10th day?
yeah,
I can't believe it.
January is almost half over.
I
It's
can't
amazing.
even believe it. It's just, shoo.
Yep.
Well, I know you said a few minutes ago that you had a couple things you'd like to share before we get started here. So why don't you just go ahead and,
All
or you
right, I'll
want,
show you a
or you
couple of
want to
kit
do it?
bashes.
Yeah,
No,
go ahead.
I'll show them real quick, and then I won't take up a lot of time.
No, it's fine. Take your time.
So this is a kit bash I did. Um, it's just an interesting outfit. See if I can get it.
Awesome. Awesome. Where'd you get
And,
that outfit at?
well, that's the interesting part.
Okay.
I did this years ago, and I found a doll on eBay. It was I think it was a vintage Russian doll,
Uh-huh.
and it was one of those dolls where the body inside the clothing, the body was like a pillow, and it had
Okay.
metal armatures, metal wire, big thick wire, and a crazy head sculpt, which was kind of neat actually.
Yeah.
But it had this wonderful outfit,
It is. It's
and
absolutely.
I took a chance on it and I bought it, and it showed up, and it's awesome. It was nice, but the whole thing was held together with bobby pins. And I think I took 40 bobby pins out of this thing.
Wow.
And I managed to get it on the Joe, but I had to use some bobby pins to put it back in. Not 40, but I used some. If someone was good with sewing, they could sew the parts that needed to stay in place. But
It looked good. Looks good.
he's kind of a different looking guy. I threw some boots on him, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
another quick kit bash I did. Oh, and just to say that flocking was by Todd Zingales. Give him some
Okay.
credit. And
Murray says it looks fantastic, Rick.
another quick kit bash I did, and this flocking is done by Todd also, was my poncho.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And what
Awesome.
he is he's the Indiana Jones Cairo swordsman,
Mm-hmm.
which I
Mm-hmm.
think you've used in some of your
Yes.
customs.
Yes, I have.
And the outfit is a vintage Barbie Ken. Um, like
Wow.
um, Barbie and Ken travel the world or something like that. And they did
Yeah.
this great Mexican guy.
Yeah. Well, I think that uniform's fantastic, man.
Yeah, it's a little tight on the guy, but it works good. The boots are, Hasbro, and the gun rig is Captain Action playing Mantis,
Yeah.
Lone
Yeah.
Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
I was able to get a couple of those, and so I just used the
Cool.
stuff.
Cool.
But pretty neat.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
it.
he's one of my favorite ones that I've done. And
Well,
I
thanks.
got again, I, I got this idea from Todd. He did
Mhm.
one of these first, and I said, I gotta do one. But
Well,
anyways,
thanks. Thanks for sharing that, Rick.
yeah,
We always enjoy having you on the show.
maybe that'll give some people some ideas what to look for on eBay and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Well, I know everybody's chomping at the bit waiting to see our guest. So here he is, David Lane. Welcome to the show,
Hey,
David.
everybody. Thank you. Glad to be here. How are
You
y'all?
know, I've been collecting for years, but I got really active, and it's all your fault.
Well,
Joe Atlanta,
that's one thing I'm happy to take responsibility for.
that's right. Joe Atlanta.
Lots of times I'll be ducking and dodging trying to avoid responsibility, but that I'll take responsibility for. So
Well, David Lane is my good friend. I met him at Joelanta, and I tell you what, it's been a ride, and I just enjoy this hobby. Like I said, I collected for years, but I never was as active like I am now. So, what got you into it, David?
well, I started collecting in the '90s, and like you, I had to have somebody to blame. The Hasbro came out with a set that was a repro vintage figure at a Foot Locker. I think around '94 or '96, and it was like a 40th anniversary or a masterpiece with a Foot Locker. And we were Christmas shopping, and my oldest son was with me. We were actually looking for something for Mama, and we happened to just walk by the toy aisle at Target, and I saw it up on the top shelf, and I said, "Oh, that's just exactly like the ones I had when I was a kid. That was my favorite toy. I loved GI Joe." And we kept on shopping for Mama, and we went back home, and I essentially just dropped him off. I don't remember the exact details, but I had to go somewhere else, and my wife said that I let him off, and he went in the house and ran into Mama and said, You've got to take me back to the Target. I found what I'm getting Daddy for Christmas." And he bought that thing for me for Christmas, and it was just I don't know how to describe it. I cried because it was so meaningful to me. And GI Joe was my favorite when I was a kid, and it just brought all of these memories rushing back. And then I just started, like I think I started like everybody. I wanted to kind of recreate the things I had as a kid, and so I started looking around at online and different places. And that was just about the time eBay started, and I discovered eBay, and then the rest was history. And so it really took off from there. But GI Joe was just so incredible when I was a kid, and I know everybody says the same thing. All the collectors say the same thing, but when I was really little, I played with those little green army men. You know, the ones that were
Yes,
just 2 inches tall, and I
yes.
loved them. I literally must have had 1,000 of those little green army men, and I would set up armies, fighting each other. But I remember thinking when I was 4, 5, 6 years old, I wish I could pose them, because I wanted them to be movable so I could move their arms and legs and pose them and things like that. And then GI Joe came out in '64, and I was 9, and I thought I had died and gone to heaven. And it was just the most wonderful thing, because it was like my wildest fantasy to be able to have this soldier that I could pose and do all of this kind of things with. And so then he rekindled that, and I blame him for creating the monster that
Was that
exists
Cody?
today.
Was
No,
that
that was Hayden, our oldest.
Hayden?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. Yep. Yeah.
Well,
So
I know that Cody liked Jody. I mean,
he
like
did.
Jody too.
He did. He was a collector himself. He and I would go to all the shows together, and do all the cruising eBay together, and look at things. And he
Mhm.
really, really enjoyed it.
Did
He
he write this book, or
Yeah,
did
he
you write?
did. Well, it was a combination effort, but it was his idea, and he talked us through the plot line, and
Mhm.
characters and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's really his, and I did
It's
some of the execution. That was it.
it's amazing, and it's one of my favorites.
It's
And
Yeah,
I wanted the figure for years. I wanted the figure for years and could not find it anywhere. And I
yeah,
finally found it, and I was able to finally buy it. And there he is. Uh,
yeah.
just love it. I just love it.
Uh, but it's a really, really good figure. I think that was the 2006 figure, or 2007. I can't remember off
Yes.
the top of my head. Yeah.
And you were involved in starting Joe Atlanta, weren't you?
Well, I worked the first one. Buddy Finethy, Brian Becker, uh, oh, dadgummit, Lanny Latham, and uh, There was one more person, and the name just fell out of my brain. Jim, Jim Marinetti.
Okay.
They actually started it, and the first one was in 2000, and I was a volunteer. I worked, and then I got more involved the second year and third year. But yeah, I've been there. I've been there forever since day one. But can't say that I was one of the founders.
Well, to me, Joelanta became kind of like what I looked forward to every year.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. Me and my grandson, we would come, we would plan all year what he was going to make for the diorama contest and
Right.
for the vehicles and things. And it was just kind of like our vacation. And I look back at those videos of him throwing the guy that parachuted off. We would take 3 or 4 and parachute them off.
Right.
And of course, the year that Jack threw Elvis Presley.
Right.
That was a great one.
Reminded me.
I missed the Marriott.
Yeah, we do too, but we just outgrew it. The show got so big. We have over 2,000 every year who come to the show in the Marriott. It would handle 1,000 pretty comfortably, and we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and it got up around 15, 16, 1,800, and we were just popping at the seams. People couldn't move.
Right.
There wasn't enough space for all the dealers to get in, and so we had to do something. And with everything you give and you get, we got more space, etc. But we lost the parachute drop, which was always a highlight of the show, because we can't find anything with that open atrium like the Marriott had, and so it's been hard to duplicate some of those things. But you mentioned Jack Hall. Jack plans his vacation around it as well, and he comes from Detroit.
Right.
He takes time off, and he comes down from Detroit every year, and it's that's
how I met Jack. That's how I met him. And of course, when you meet these guys and you become friends with them, they become part of your family.
Sure do.
I have a second family. It's my Joe family.
Right.
Did you want to ask something, Rick? I saw you sitting there kind of.
Oh, I'm just listening. I'm not sure what to say.
Well,
I looked at your Facebook page, and I was trying to figure out, what kind of stuff you do, because I don't know.
You mean David?
Yeah.
Oh, tell us about yourself, David.
Yeah, I'm a military era guy, 64 to 68. I've wound up with a few 69 sets, even 2 or 3 adventure team guys, but primarily I'm 64 to 68 military era. And because that's what I played with. I was 9 when he came out in February, turned 10 the middle of 64, and I bought my last Joe figure. It wasn't a figure. It was the Desert Jeep, the Rat Patrol Jeep, in 67 or 68. About the time I was heading out, gotten interested in other things, and puberty interferes with toy collecting. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but.
Of course.
No.
No, you didn't notice.
Well, I was 4 when G.I. Joe came out.
Were you?
Oh, so I played with him. I've told Terry this, but I played with him right through to the end of the adventure team.
Oh, yeah.
And then when it turned into, Atomic Man, that's when it started losing me. But yeah. So I had a nice run with Joe's.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have. It's kind of a funny story, and I don't mean to take up all the time. I don't even know how much time I have.
You're the guest.
Okay. But I have a kid brother who's 14 years younger than me, so he got all my Joe stuff, and it's all just destroyed. But my older brother, after my mother died, he got all her stuff, et cetera, and then he died in early 2000. It was 2002, I think, when he died. And so I was going through his thing. He had saved a jewelry box of hers, and the only thing from my childhood GI Joes was in the bottom of that jewelry box. I found the knife from the French Resistance fighter. And I don't know how she wound up with it, or how it wound up in there, or anything like that. But that's all I have left of my GI Joe toyhood collection. and
Wow.
it's a proud piece in my now collection, my
Sure.
adulthood collection. So.
Sure it is. Sure
Are
it
you
is.
a mint and package collector? Do you have everything,
No.
or
No,
just
he's
whatever?
not.
No, I have a handful of things in the box or in the package, but I've just kind of wound up with those accidentally. I don't seek them out. I like to play with them. I
Yeah.
like to handle them. Me and a buddy, Mike Gardner, who Terry's friend too. Mike Gardner. Mike used to do these just tremendous dioramas, incredible dioramas for Joelanta and Toylanta, and Mike and I, about once a year, typically when the weather turns nice in the fall, we'll go set up a photo shoot somewhere and do some really, really nice stuff. So I like to be able to play with them. I like to take them off the shelves and,
Yeah.
go get out in the woods or down by the lake and
Were you
play with them.
there, David, when they did the big setup out at, what is it, Lake Lanier?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was there. We did that on Veterans Day. I'm trying to remember when it was, but it's been a while now. Probably
Yes.
2011, something like that.
Yes.
But yeah, and we took a ton. I had tremendous fun taking a ton of pictures
Right.
out by Lake Lanier with that. Brought tanks and jeeps and literally had about 200 Joes, and it was just a really, really fun time that afternoon.
Yeah, I was invited, and I wish I could have been there because that just looking at the pictures made me go, oh man, I should have went.
Yeah, that's a long haul from Milledgeville, though.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah. But you know, I want to mention the Cody Lane. Are we still trying to get a museum?
Yeah, it's been a little bit frustrating, and it's like forces. Sometimes when things are incredibly hard, I figure, well, it must be a really, really good thing because the enemy sure is coming after it.
Right.
And we had enough money to go start looking for property, and Joelanta and Toylanta have been fundraising activities for the Cody Lane Toy and Diorama Museum, Memorial Toy and Diorama Museum, and we found two properties near Stone Mountain, which would be a great location because they already got the big tourist space for Stone Mountain.
Right.
And we went and visited, and they were talking. We went and visited both these places, and they were both talking about between $12 and $13 a square foot. And so we liked them both. We went back to the board and did a little more searching and went back to them 3 months later to make an offer. And they said, and oh, by the way, the price has gone up to $21 a square foot. And it was like, we got to start over. Oh gosh, we got to start over. So now we're working on a plan B to try to maybe put together a mobile toy and diorama museum that we can take to schools and try and pique interest like that, because it's easy to sell a product if you've got a prototype, so to speak. It's
Sure.
really hard to sell an idea. And so we were thinking if we had the mobile thing that we could take to schools, take to festivals and things like that, then we got something concrete that people can see, and that might make our fundraising efforts a little easier. But yeah, we're still working at it. Believe it or not, it's just been so slow and so frustrating because it's taken much longer than we had hoped that it would.
Well, we still have 3 dioramas stuck here in the church
Do you?
that hope to donate someday.
Yep, we've got some good
I know you do. I know
things
you.
and good figures, good collections, good dioramas, and that's driving us crazy because we have to pay for storage, so it's sort of diminishing returns.
Yeah.
But we're ever hopeful. I'm not a gloomy guy. I see the cup as a half full all the time, and
Yeah.
so we're constantly hopeful.
Well, one of the things I've prayed for is that y'all would bump into somebody in that hobby that would just say, I want to help.
That'd be really nice. If there's
just make a
anybody out
big
there listening
make a
right now.
donation. That's right.
Yep.
Somebody might own some property. Somebody might have a commercial property or even something near Stone Mountain. And maybe they would just step up and do something because, there are toy museums all over. There are all kinds of things that are interesting, but there's really nothing like this, like a
No,
Cody Lane Foundation. None
right.
of this.
Yeah, the idea is to preserve not just toy collections, but to preserve the art of the diorama.
Yes,
As adults and older adults, the three of us, we played outside and we played in the dirt, and there was a little branch down in the woods behind my house, and we
yeah,
were in the woods, we were down at the branch, and our we were just out all day. I'd get upset when they would make me come in. It started getting dark and things like that, and that's kind of gone from our culture. Kids are
yes,
now, they're not out playing in the dirt. They're not out being imaginative. All it took was two sticks, and you and your friend had swords and could take on any enemy or any dragon or each other. And I say that laughingly because I broke my buddy's finger one time in a sword fight with two sticks. And
right.
I happened to hit him right on the hand where he's holding his sword and broke his pointer finger.
Oh
And
my,
I saw him at a high school class reunion last summer, and he said, "You remember that time?" How all those stories start. Oh yeah, I remember that. I'm still embarrassed about it. 60 years later, I'm still embarrassed about it.
yes,
That we played outside, and that's kind of been lost. And kids stay inside. They stare at screens all day, and we're concerned about the loss of that creative play, and we're concerned about um, children being having their imagination engaged, because imagination serves so many purposes. Essentially, what imagination helps you do is one, solve problems. If I don't have an imagination, then I can't solve problems, because part of solving problems is figuring out two or three options of how to get through this thing and deal with this thing and put it behind me. And if I don't have an imagination, I lack problem solving skills. Another thing, imagination is rehearsal for adulthood. We are constantly practicing through our imagination as children of how to be adults and how we're going to be as adults. And I'm a little concerned about the impact that staring at screens all day has on that. Plus, another big agenda is a lot of the dioramas. I mentioned Mike Gardner, but Steve Bugg, Eric Nettles used to do huge dioramas, and when they were done with them, they would just take them apart and use them for other things, and big chunks of it would go in the trash can. And we want to preserve that because it's absolute beautiful art. And
yes,
so we a second piece of our mission. One is
yeah,
imaginative play, and the second piece is preserving the art of the diorama.
absolutely. Well, Mike's going to be on the show in a few weeks.
Yay.
And if you can get in touch with Bugs, I've been trying to get him. He won't answer any of my messages or anything. So, but if you can get him, I'd love to have him on too.
Well, number one, Steve's not too active on the social media or anything. He's on Facebook every now and then, but he's since he's retired, he's doing lots of traveling. He's got a couple of brothers. He went to Canada recently. He was out west recently. So yeah, he's a hard man to get. I agree with you. But yeah, if you can nail him down, he'd be a great guest for you to
Be a great
have.
guest. His
He's good.
dioramas just blew me away.
Yeah.
We always tried to do some. Of course, our space was limited, and our experience was limited. So
Hmm.
I think Mike's best one was his pyramid. That's the one that I think he really went all out. And he designed it in such a way where it was kind of like three-dimensional, where you could see the pyramid,
Hmm.
and you could even see inside of it,
Hmm.
kind of in a way that he captured the one room inside the chamber there.
Hmm.
And then he painted all those hieroglyphics himself.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
Right. He would spend all year long literally crafting and building the dioramas that he did. The one that got the most acclaim was the pirate ship, and
yes,
you remember that one.
yes.
And
The
Yep.
the train blew me away.
yeah, that was a good one too. Yeah,
I just
Steve did that one. Yeah.
I just kept looking at this GI Joe sized train. I guess it was modeled after the general that was supposed to have had the race in
Hmm.
Georgia.
Yep.
And isn't it in a museum somewhere up there in Cartersville?
Yeah, not Cartersville. Oh gosh, what's the name of it? It's in Gwinnett County. Something Farm. but it was a Civil War battle site. Yep, and
Yeah.
they bought it from Steve. Sure did.
That's absolutely, and his pirate ship is in some seafood. Well, not the ship, but the animal.
Kraken.
The Kraken is in some kind of a seafood restaurant.
Yep, in South Carolina, it sure is.
I can just imagine going into a seafood restaurant and you got this Kraken coming out of the ceiling. Mike is just amazing. Just amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, David, what would you say of all the figures that were made at Joelanta? Which would be your favorite?
Wow, it's hard. It's hard to say. We've done a ton of them over the years. I liked the 2016 figure, which was the it was like a security guard. I think it was assault on Seaport 16 or something like that. But it was a kind of a naval security.
Oh yeah,
had this blue camo.
Yeah,
and also like the alternative universe that we did, the Zeppelin Commander and the Zeppelin Deck Gunner that we did from alternative history.
Those two were my favorites too.
Yeah, it's like Mike's going to. It looks like Rick's going to get something off the shelf.
Somebody is asking about Ronald McDonald is asking about.
Yeah, he asked a question.
Go ahead, Rick.
Yes, it's a spider. This is from when King Kong Skull Island came out.
Okay.
Yeah,
this was one of the toys. It's kind of neat.
Nice.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's. I use it with 1/18 scale figures for some photographs, but yeah, it's a nice piece.
I don't know, David, if you've seen our calendar, but
I have.
Joelanta, we make a calendar every year, and I told Rick that I felt like his picture was the best one in there this year. Let's see if I can find it here. Here's Rick's picture.
Nice.
And,
yeah, I remember looking at the images. You put
got
them up
that? Didn't you get that statue from one of the
Sean Wright?
Yeah, Sean.
Yeah, I traded him.
Yeah,
yeah, that's kind of neat. It's right back there, actually.
Why don't you get it and show it to us too, if you can? Can you do that? We got a couple minutes.
It's like, I don't know what these are, but they're stone.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Oh,
well, that's that army in China, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the terracotta guys. And Sean bought like 8 of them. And he did his picture with them, and then he traded them off and sold them to some guys. And I traded them for a Joe for one.
Yeah, they had that exhibit at the High Museum. It was just 15 or 20 of the terracotta soldiers. But in the gift shop, they had those figures, and I kicked myself because I didn't grab the half a dozen of them when they had them in those gift shops.
If you'd like one, send Sean a message. He when he was on our show, he said that he had a few, and people would pay for the shipping. He'd send it to them for free.
Wow!
He might have got rid of them all. He
might have.
Yeah.
He might have. Yeah.
So
one more thing behind you, Rick. What's that police guy behind you there in the white?
Oh,
over your left. Yeah, right there. What's that guy? You keep attracting our attention with all your stuff here, Rick.
This one?
Yeah.
So this is.
Is that Action Man?
No, this is round 2, Captain Action.
Okay. Round 2, Captain Action.
The jacket is a G.I. Joe from a G.I. Joe club, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
When they were in, doing their thing. And I managed to buy this off of eBay. The pants and all this stuff is all Lennard Ultra Cores. And what they did was Captain Action came out with a winter Captain Action. So his outfit underneath is white and blue. And of course, he has the white Captain Action hat.
Yeah.
But he's kind of a neat one.
Yeah, he is.
I thought round 2 did a great job with these figures. And they just kind of, they peaked and went downhill like really quickly.
Well, I think we lost a lot when the club closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, even
Yeah.
even though I didn't get to go to any of the shows, I know it had an impact on all of the collecting.
It did. Yep.
And so we lost a lot when that closed.
Yep.
Yeah. Murray
Sure
says
did.
it's a club jacket. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me just add something real quick. When you were talking, Dave, about kids and being on this past summer, I sold a lot of stuff at a flea market. I went every Sunday, and there was a lot of engagement with kids.
Mhm.
But when I had during the week, I had all my stuff in my garage. And of course, summertime, I leave the door open and I'm sitting in there doing stuff and shit. And there was a good amount of kids in the neighborhood, and they started coming around and looking at stuff.
Mhm.
And I just started giving things away. I was like,
Good for
"Hey,
you.
you want that? Take it."
Good for
That's right.
you.
And unfortunately, a good amount of those kids, they were all living in one condo. I live in a condo establishment or whatever you call
Mhm.
it, and they've since moved out. But I, the kids were interested. They loved the stuff, and they wanted. I had, the stuff I was trying to sell at the flea market. It wasn't like giving away vintage Joes, but they they loved it. They were like, "What's this? I want this," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Go take it."
That's been our experience, that if we get them engaged, they're really stimulated and they really want to play with it, and they start. You can see those sparks of that creativity and imagination starting to kick up, and we want to encourage that. Yeah.
Well, I had a young person come to Sunday school, and he saw one of my GI Joes sitting on one of the counters or something, and he made mention that he's interested in that, and so I had a Max Steel that I had been taking, like you said, to some flea markets, and I just gave it to him, and I said, "Do you want some guns, some weapons and stuff?" And he said, "Well, I'm not really into guns. My dad said I'm too young for guns." And so a few weeks later, I was talking to him, and I asked him, "So how have you been doing?" And he said, "Well, my dad told me that guns are good for hunting, and that I could probably have a gun and pretend like he's hunting." So I gave him a gun, and I gave him a turkey, and I gave him a pig, a boar, a wild boar. And he had his grandmother send me a message and said, "Tell the pastor I named the boar Bacon." And I thought, wow, that's like we used to do,
Yeah.
having that imagination, and he's playing with the pig and the turkey, and naming him Bacon. That's wonderful. Well, I tell you, thank you for joining us, David. I hope
I,
everybody enjoyed the show.
I
You have any
appreciate the
final
invitation.
words you wanna? I'm going to put in the link. I'm going to put in the link. Do you want me to put the Facebook page or the? I can put the website too. I can put them both, really.
Yeah. That
So
if you would, that'd be great. And
yes,
remember that Toylanda's coming up weekend of 21st of March, and
yes,
we don't have a date yet for Joelanta because been some talk about moving it to a little bit later because there are two or three other shows that have come up in the summer. The Texas show is really good. If you haven't been to the Texas show, it's really good. Steve
yes,
Stovall's show in Louisville, he's got one. He's doing two a year now. One coming up here in January, and it's a
yes,
great little show. And the one in summer in July is just fantastic. And so
yes,
endorse all of those. So there's been some talk about moving Joelanta a little later because with three staggered across the summer, it's a bit much, and people need time to recuperate a little bit and watch their budget and all that good stuff. And so we haven't set a date for Joelanta yet.
So y'all, please like, share, comment, and go and check the links and make a donation to the Cody Lane Foundation. It's a good organization sponsoring the hobby that we all love. So make sure you do that. And thank you so much, David. I appreciate you taking the time to come and join us.
Yeah.
Sure, happy to do it. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Rick,
Rick.
for
Yeah, nice to meet you, David.
Yeah, you too.
We're gonna get Rick down to Joelanta or Toylanta someday.
Yeah.
Where are you in
Wish.
Are you in New Hampshire? Is that where you are, Rick?
Yeah, New Hampshire. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that far of a drive, but it would take a
maybe
little
you
bit.
maybe you can catch a ride with Jack.
I won't get on a plane, so I got to drive.
No, I'm not getting on one either. Well, before we go, Murray said, Rick, your little bird is great.
Little bird.
If any, yeah, your little bird.
Helicopter.
He's talking about your helicopter, I think, but it's not called a little bird. It's not
Oh,
called
in the
a little
back.
bird.
Yeah, that's the Adventure Team helicopter.
That's the
yeah.
Adventure Team helicopter.
I didn't even know that was back there.
In my new Toys Mine Facebook page, there's a little bird that somebody has painted yellow. So y'all might want to check that out later.
No, that's Robert DeCastro, isn't it?
Yeah, Robert has done an excellent job with that.
Good work.
You'll really like it. Thank y'all so much. I hope you have a good evening and a wonderful year.
Thank you,
and
guys.
remember,
Bye, everybody.
toys are fun.
Thanks, Marie.
Bye,
Take care, everybody. Hope to see you in March.